I feel the Spirit moving in me. I feel the Spirit moving in me.
So this morning I want to talk to you about something called the philanthropic mindset. And I'm curious, when you hear the word philanthropy, what comes to your mind?
Brotherly love.
Very good.
Doing good.
Yes. Often what I hear from people when I share that I'm a philanthropist is they'll say these words to me. Tom, someday when I get money, I want to be a philanthropist too. And that got me to thinking, because I had a philanthropic mindset long before I had any money to express my philanthropy. You know, I was really fortunate. I came from very, very humble beginnings. In fact, I have a book launching on Tuesday that some of you were here when I talked about it, and it's called My Life in Business Suits, Hospital Gowns, and High Heels. And in the beginning of the book, I reflect about growing up in a structure we fondly called the shack, because it was. We didn't have hot water. We didn't have a refrigerator. And we had a lot of love. And I think something was planted in me in those early days. Some of it I didn't realize till much later, after the passing of my parents, was how much they believed in giving to others and how much they had a philanthropic mindset. I remember a story someone came to me when I did a celebration of life for my dad, which quite frankly I was very worried about, because in my family we never did services or funerals. In fact, it was clearly, you will not do this. So I was waiting for the lightning to come through the rafters as I was there. And but someone came up to me afterwards and told me a story about my father. And my father would go to this house of this woman who had 3 children, and her husband was an alcoholic, and often they had no money. And my father would park his truck a few blocks away and sneak up in the dark and leave 2 bags of groceries and then sneak away. I doubt this person ever knew my father did that. Oh, I loved hearing that story, because I can remember what we did in those times to boil water for baths on an old kerosene stove that I can smell right now, and remember him bringing blocks of ice home to put in our ice box. You know, philanthropy isn't just about galas or having your name on a building. It's not just about giving money. It's about living with a philanthropic mindset. It's not a budget line, but it can be a line in your life story. The root word of philanthropy is philanthropia. Philanthropia, I think, is how you say it, Greek for the love of humanity. Yeah, interesting, huh? Most people think of philanthropy as a transaction. I write a check, I give money, I donate, I get acknowledgement in return, or in some cases I get invited to a gala, or if I give enough, I can have my name on a plaque or on the side of a building. Money often equals an outcome. You know, I like to think of having a mindset change to the lens of contribution. People will say, well, what can I give? You know, I work with a lot of nonprofits in my work, and I remind them that the $1,000 check that you might receive, or the 4 quarters, come with the same spirit and from the same wealth of the individual, and to treat them with the same respect. So people will say to me, Tom, well, how can I do something philanthropic. Did you know that your smile is a philanthropic gesture? You never know what a smile might be doing for someone that you pass on the street, or a hello and how that can change someone's day. What makes it a philanthropic event is not having an expectation of something in return. Because if we say hello and we don't get the hello back and it bothers us, our hello wasn't authentic. If our smile wasn't returned, sometimes we're not in the space to return a smile or a hello, but we certainly hear it or feel it. So we talk often about time, talent, and treasure. All of these are philanthropic gestures. You can give your time. We see that here often. People giving their time, whether it's doing Facebook Live, hi everyone on Facebook, whether it's music, whether it's the wonderful work that Brad does for us in keeping our space clean in the outside, or platform assistants or sound people, or people get up and pray for us or read the daily word, and the many other things that we don't know about. I think of the many things that Kealoha does here that are far beyond anything that she's agreed to do, but they get done. And we all have talent. Sometimes we think that talent is that we can sing beautifully, like the people that sing to us, Marianne and Robin, or it's about being able to act or play a musical instrument. Well, what if your talent is that you just make good deviled eggs? Now, I know you know if you like deviled eggs when somebody has a talent and the love that are in those deviled eggs. My Aunt Jenny used to make the best potato salad on the planet. I've had many people try and tell me, how is this compared to your Aunt Jenny's? In fact, every year at Thanksgiving, my mother would make that potato salad, and she'd say, did I do it? Is it like your Aunt Jenny's? Say, Mom, I love you. But I think Aunt Jenny took some secret along with her that we never got to learn about what made that potato salad. And boy, did she have a talent for it. She couldn't play a musical instrument, couldn't sing a note. She was beautiful, but she could make some mean potato salad. And then there's your treasure. The law of circulation tells us that when we keep it moving, it comes back to us. Once again, when we give with the expectation that it will be returned, changes the gift. Again, the $1,000 check or the 4 quarters come from the same spirit, the same wealth of the giver. Money solves problems. Mindset builds a movement. You know, I had a turning point that I'll share with you. I've had 2 life-threatening illnesses. One I was told was terminal. I've lived with metastatic cancer the last 13 years, and I'm still here. Thank you. Get the book and you'll learn a lot about that. But I'm not going to tell you anything about high heels today. But what happened as a result of some of this illness, along with the story I shared with you earlier, is it created a new lens, a new mindset for me. You know, I had an early career and I did very well in the corporate life. Then I had my hospital gown moments, as you can imagine. I've had enough radiation that I glow in the dark. I could be your nightlight. I think about that hospital gown, you know, that flimsy piece of fabric that never ties in the back. That you hope a wind doesn't come along and make an event out of your day. But it got me thinking those things. Did I matter? Will I leave things better? When you're told you're going to not be here and to prepare 3 times, you ask yourself these questions about what does that mean? It brings you to the present. You know, I think you've heard me say before, if you haven't, get ready. I stand before you. I did the calculation this morning. If I had never sold my Facebook stock, I would stand here before you today worth $270 million. $270 million. That buys a lot of therapy. Buys a lot of people you can try and mimic your Aunt Jenny's potato salad. But I sold it at a fraction of that. And I don't regret it for a moment. Thank you. I don't regret it because of what I have been able to do with the money that I did get from that experience. I would have been okay in life. I would have still been a giver. But it's allowed me to have a philanthropic mindset that gets expressed in my support for underserved communities, youth in the arts, first-gen students, current women's issues, current GLBTQ issues, and other things that I feel a passion about. You may have heard me tell you that my CPA and I also have a little nonprofit. In fact, we're building our first website. I got a preview of it today because we're way under the radar. We do things like women that get discharged from San Francisco General for domestic violence. The discharge happens and bye. We make it possible so they can have acupuncture or Pilates to reacquaint with their bodies. Or my favorite that you may have heard me, a woman that teaches little at-risk boys on the streets of Oakland, California, how to play the saxophone, to give them an identity. We make it possible for her to teach more little at-risk boys how to play the saxophone. My realization was philanthropy is a now thing. Giving changes you instantly. From that point forward, those changes that I shared with you in my life, giving when it's convenient changed to living a life of philanthropy every day. I try and move through my life with a philanthropic mindset, giving to others. Sorry I didn't do the slides, but I don't think we need them. So they're there. We don't need them, so they didn't say much anyway. So there are 3 pillars to the philanthropic mindset: time and presence, the personal moments that are cherished, how you give to others, those who are sick, those who are in need, and yes, those just needing your smile. Talent and expertise. You share your skills. save people time, or minimize people's pain. These are ways we use our talent or expertise, or sing songs that makes us feel good, play instruments that make us feel great, speak to us in ways that make us feel great, or give hugs like Kelly. There's advocacy and influence where we speak up for others when they can't. On my way in today, I saw a woman on the side of the street. I stopped the car not to talk to her because I knew it might be dangerous, but I knew I had to say a prayer right then and there that that woman would find some help as she was speaking to the wind. What I could do in that moment was offer a prayer. We can open doors for others when they can't. I'm not just talking about the door. I think you know that. We have the ability to open doors for others in ways that are beyond something they could do, no matter how strong they are. We can amplify others. We can tell their story when they can't. We can help them do what I call puff up. I'd like to challenge you in your chair right now to puff up. And when I say puff up, I mean your biggest, baddest self. Right? I know you feel it. Share that with others. We can make a shift from how much I can give to how much I can contribute. That is the philanthropic mindset. Let's talk about why all this matters, especially right now. We're in a time of compounded crises: climate, inequality, displacement, mental health, and so many other issues that they're all-time high. If only the wealthy give, so much potential is lost. 1,000 is the same as 4 quarters. A mindset approach democratizes generosity. Anyone can make an impact. Any of us have something to give, whether it be our time, our talent, or yes, our treasure. What it does is it says you are part of the solution right now with what you have. I want to give you some real life examples. I gave a scholarship to a youth program. I do it every year. It's here on Maui, because I learned that there are kids that wouldn't be able to go because it costs something. And I have this thing about kids being able to do stuff, especially when it relates to the arts, music and acting and all the things that go in the arts, drawing, dance, whatever it may be. So I wrote the check. I'll never meet those kids. I got home one day after a very long day, and I had this odd envelope in the mail. What is this? As I went to open it, all I could see was color. Every one of those kids on this piece of paper had written me a thank you note in different colors. I will tell you now, that meant more to me than any check I could ever write. I coach entrepreneurs around the world through the Miller Center at Santa Clara University. It's very interesting than the people I usually coach, which are CEOs and the type. I have a woman in Kenya whose village, a very large village, was burnt down by fire. No one had a home. She and a person who became her co-founder, in their effort to build homes for people, came up with a new way of construction. It survives the droughts and the movements of the land. It lasts much longer. It's cooler. Out of that philanthropic mindset, she's the CEO of a business now that sells these structures that have now become apartment buildings all over Kenya for people to have homes. It started with her philanthropic mindset. Or the woman who sewed thousands of baby hats, crocheted, for NICU babies. She'll never know those babies. I support an organization in the city of San Francisco called Scholar Match that's focused on first-generation students. I coach their executive director. And what I love about this organization is there are students that are doing extraordinarily well in high school. They have no idea if the lights are on when they get home in the evening, but they're doing great in school. They would never have an opportunity to go to college. I believe they deserve that opportunity. More importantly, I believe we deserve the opportunity for them to go, for what we might learn from them and what they might do in our world. I will never, ever know them. I trust that I'm creating a ripple in a family that will go on for generations. I trust that someday, when they've used their college education and they're making money, they will remember that someone they don't know did something for them and will do something from that same mindset. Some of the people I told you about, they aren't rich. They just came from generosity. So I'd like to challenge you to stop seeing philanthropy as something you do and start seeing it as who you are. There are opportunities every day. Your time, your voice, your skills, encouragement, and yes, your dollars. Use your time, your talent, and your treasure with abandon. Generosity changes others, and it will change you too. Philanthropy isn't what leaves your wallet. It's what leaves your heart. So let's leave here today with just as much as we can an understanding that we are architects of generosity. What that feels like, try it. I'm an architect of generosity. Maybe say it to yourself right now. Imagine a world where philanthropy isn't an event. It's not an event. It's just a reflex. Where every meeting, every conversation, every day is an opportunity to give. A smile, an introduction, insight, a hand. You can write a check, but remember, you don't need $1 million. You just need to decide today you will live philanthropically. You will use the philanthropic mindset, because the greatest gift you can give is the way you show up for humanity. Thank you. I ask you to close your eyes if you're willing. Allow my words to be yours. Allow gravity to do what gravity does. sink into the chair. Whatever's in your mind, drop into your heart. On this day, we know we have something we can share, something we can give, something someone else needs. It could be our time, it could be our talent, and it could be our treasure. For we know that in giving we receive, not an expectation, just how it works. And in this space, in the silence, I ask you to think about how you might use your philanthropic mindset today, tomorrow, and into the coming days of your life. And now coming back into this space, maybe take a breath and wiggle your toes and your fingers and open your eyes when you're ready and come back.
Reverend Blaine, a man that blesses us in so many ways. One more time, we just wanted you to know we love you. And we love Robin. Be sure to give her some love after she helps us do our last couple of songs here. So why not stand up and let's get that energy flowing through us as we say our prayer for protection. And then, of course, we circle up and sing our peace song. So, the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is.
Where